should go ahead and start. Okay.
Good morning, CLC. I invite you now with me to just take a few deep breaths. Allow your body to relax in this moment. Put your day and your week aside and allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing this idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Well, I just want everybody to take another nice deep breath. I don't know about you, but we at CLC have had a very busy weekend, so. But it's been wonderful and fantastic. I want to thank each and every person that came out, whether it was online or in the room, to celebrate the ordination of Reverend Lisa Ryan. Yes, give her an applause. Thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, but I felt the love. I felt the love. I felt the support. I felt all the light just flood this room. It was such a beautiful experience. And I'm so grateful that I was here and a part of it. And I'm so grateful for you, Reverend Lisa. So thank you for being who you are and how you are. We really appreciate you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I tell you, speaking of hard work, that is a great segue into a very, very, very special thank you to everyone who came out yesterday and helped for the mobile food distribution event. People, let me tell you, it was hot. Oh, boy, was it hot. And we baked. But we gave food to people who were so grateful and so much in need. You know, it's funny. A lot of us live in areas where literally, if you look out the window, you see 3 fast food places, 4 grocery stores, 5 restaurants, all right there in your area. It's difficult to believe. Here in Houston, there are still areas and neighborhoods and communities that are food deserts. We served one of those yesterday. So I hope that each and every person who came out is proud of the work that we did and was able to really give not only boxes, but give love and support from your hearts to this community, because they were there. They when I tell you the line was there before we even started, and the line did not go down until we ended. That tells you how many people wanted and needed us. So thank you for being there. Thank you for helping out. And we hope during our next food drive, we will have more of you come out and help us and support this wonderful cause and this wonderful volunteering act that we do each quarter. So thank you.
Danielle said she hoped we would turn out in droves. What is a drove? We, yeah, is that, okay, so it's like past tense of drive? Okay, yeah.
That's what I put out there.
We always say, I hope they come in droves, and it's like, if they did, would we know it? You know? Anyway, I'm being a little silly. Okay, I'm being a lot silly. We have the TV set up so that we can watch the Indy 500. That was from the ordination service, and by the way, if you were watching the ordination service on Zoom, and you saw Reverend Lisa, who was sitting on the end, get up and leave a few times. People had questions about that. It's like, was she all right? Was she ill? Was she nervous? No, it's because the speaker at the moment was on Zoom addressing her, and she couldn't see the screen from behind it, you know, so she came around front and sat next to her mom and interacted that way. But if you were watching, you couldn't tell that's what was happening. So you see, that's why you need to be here for this kind of thing. She also mentioned in her remarks that when she first visited here, she thought I looked like George Carlin. And then in the talk, which I did back in the day, and then in the talk I gave that day, I quoted George Carlin, which I often do. Well, I'm not making this up, and I hope one of you was standing nearby me yesterday when at the food event, one of the clients came up and said I looked like Steven Spielberg, because I had these little round sunglasses on, you know, and a hat and stuff. So what I want you to know with me today is that somebody is going up to Steven Spielberg in Hollywood and saying, you look like that Jennings guy on YouTube. All right, last week, we're finishing a series that's drawn somewhat, like all our series are drawn somewhat from the writings, often of somebody. Next month is more free association. It's 4 Sundays, kind of standalone. It's not connected to a book. Why? Because school's out. So we don't need stuff connected to books for a while. But I am going to have an assignment for you today for your summer. An assignment for summer. You know how when you left school in May or June, they handed you, I remember one summer, that you'll read Great Expectations over the summer. Which is a wonderful book until you're made to read it. You know? And when you're made to answer the questions at the end of every chapter that are pointless questions that are just there to make sure that you read it. Well, anyway, I have a summer assignment for us all, which I do not believe is pointless. I think it will serve us and it will serve the world. And it ties into what we've been talking about from the work of Ursula Gestefeld, who lived about 130 years ago and was an early teacher of this new thought material that we have. She had a teaching she called The Science of Being. And last week I kind of boiled down everything she'd said in certain chapters of that to the idea of self-acceptance. If we accept ourselves, we have a theology in New Thought which says there's never been anything wrong with you. There's never been anything wrong with the human species, with life on this planet as it's set up. We can make stuff wrong with it, we can gum up the works, but it wasn't set up to fail. This is not a prison planet that we were sent to for being bad little angels. This is not a place that's corrupt and vile, and in the next life everything is all resolved and perfect. No, we believe here that there is one life. That life is God. That life is all the life there is. That life is all the life there is, including the parts of it that we can't stand. That life is all of it. There's nobody outside of that circle. There's no human experience outside of that circle. We believe that when Jesus said to love everyone, there was no asterisk. Except for, of course, we understand. No, everyone. And when he said love your enemies, he raised the bar, didn't he? Because everybody up to that point and a lot since have said, love your friends. Love the people who love you back. You know, one of the quickest ways to make a friend in life is to find the people who already like you and fall in with them. You know what I mean? When people find you funny or people find you interesting, well then you know, it's easy to be their friend. They don't ask anything of you, you know? You just show up as who you are. The people who push your buttons, the people who rub off your rough edges, those are the people that cause you to grow. We had a guest, Dr. Michael Gott was with us on, when was that, Friday night? And a colleague of ours in the ministry and leader of a wonderful faith community across town. And he, which I won't mention because I don't want you to go there, I want you to come here. But he quoted somebody he and I both know, and some of you may know Dr. Kathy Hearn, who is one of the regional deans of our School of Ministry. We have campuses various places. And he quoted her, and I'm working from memory here, but he quoted her as saying to him, when he was in ministry school, that you will find and serve a spiritual community that is most aptly shaped and formed for your own healing. For your own healing. So whether that's a great big place, or a little bitty place, or an urban place, or a rural place, or a retreat center, or a prison ministry, or whatever it might look like, it is uniquely positioned to facilitate your own healing. Now, what she was getting at, that's not just true of ministers and where they wind up working. It's true of all of us. Life is perfectly situated for our ongoing healing. And so if a problem comes walking into your life, it's an opportunity to heal. If a joyful thing comes walking into your life, it's also an opportunity to heal. Because a lot of times when problems walk into our lives, we say, oh, it's a problem. I've seen these before. I know what to do about this. Whereas when joy walks into your life, approval walks into your life, appreciation walks into your life, you're like, whoa, this can't be for me. You must have the wrong address. Because we have not accepted ourselves. We've not accepted ourselves as who we are. Now, Danielle and later Lisa sort of get up and tell you what a wonderful weekend we had here, and it was. Friday night was magical. Yesterday was wonderful. Tuesday in our world was awful. A week ago, Saturday in our world was awful. And those are just events that we know about. And they belong too in the circle of experience that we consider. We don't just come in here to Creative Life and sing happy songs and hug each other and feel good about stuff and kind of ignore what's going on in the world. On the other hand, what we also don't do as a group, and I encourage us not to do, is fall down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, absolute just perpetual despair. Nothing can ever change. We're stronger than that. We're stronger than that. And y'all sang that song Friday night, I Want to Live. You'd picked that months ago for, you know, at Lisa's behest. She gave you a playlist of songs like this. And you went through and you picked a couple, you know, to do. Who knew? And we were sitting here teary-eyed Friday night when you sang it, and I knew it was coming again today, but it's like, okay, so what are we going to do with that? So I sat on Wednesday and I wrote a reaction piece that I put up on the center's Facebook page, and it was in the weekly email, and it's short, and it was heartfelt, but it was just where I was at the time. What I want to do today is expand on that a little bit, but I'm not going to sit here and recite tragic statistics to you. It really goes to the assignment that we have that I join you in for the summer. Now, before I get right into it, just one more little tee up there, and that is, I am really proud of the leadership of this center. You know, and by that, we're all leaders, but I'm specifically referring here to Danielle, Lisa, and David. Okay? I'll tell you why. These people are awesome. They get up here and they say, oh, we're having a food drive and it's going to be 1,000,000 degrees out there and it's going to be the middle of the day and it's going to be this. And you know what? They're the first ones there. Yeah. Never think that we just scoot volunteers around, you know, here, we need this set up and we need that fixed. They're out there. They're out there. The first to show up and the last to leave. That's leadership. That's leadership. And every box of food gets handed off with love and with appreciation to people. And you're right, these people are just so grateful for our presence there and remarked, you know, that they had missed us before and so on, and they can't wait. So I guess you call that walking your talk. And I encourage you to join us. And there's a personal angle to it too. When you do this kind of thing, you feel really good about yourself. I don't know when I felt better about myself than when I got home yesterday. A little sunburnt around the edges, kind of sweaty and nasty, with a box of root vegetables actually that I was handed, and I came and I thought, man, this was a good day, because I get tired sometimes of a sedentary life, and it's nice to take action. It's nice to take action. It's one of the things, oh, everybody ought to be fed on the planet, but it's really nice to break a sweat and do something about that. So, that said, here is where I would like to take the conversation that I wrote up in the Facebook thing, and it leads into the summer assignment. There is one life. That life is God. That life is all the life there is. That life is your life right now. That life is my life right now. That life is a victim's life. That life is a perpetrator's life. That life is the life of the worst person you could possibly think of. The people you absolutely despise. That life is the life of Christ and King and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and all the people that we've been taught to admire and do admire. Your beloved family, your mentors, your heroes. Life of all of them. One life. All one life. I have to remember that. I have to remember that for my sense of connection to my spiritual power to be maintained. Now, my connection to my spiritual power is constant. Everyone's is. That's not the problem, like I said. There's never been any disconnection between ourselves and our source. The problem is we've thought there was. We thought there was, and it scared us. And the fear has made us angry, and the anger has made us act out. And so by the time somebody makes the headlines, they've already gone through 3 or 4 layers of denial or misrecognition of their own spiritual value by the time they pick up a weapon to harm somebody. By the time, it seems like it's too late. And in the moment, it is. But then there's a larger moment called the future, called where do we go from here into the next. So the summer assignment is this. The prayer work that we do is that we pray about ourselves. Those of you who've had these classes, they mentioned the certificated science mind classes, but it's in all our literature and stuff. In this teaching, we offer a style of prayer that says, I pray within myself to know something, okay? I treat, that's the word, T-R-E-A-T. I treat my own beliefs. I treat to know something. I treat to know my oneness with my source. I treat to know unconditional love, and so on. The summer assignment is to treat ourselves to know that we know who we are. Treat yourself as an individual to know who you are. with no asterisk, with no just give me the highlights, with no cliff notes, with no what do they call it, redaction, okay? Look at your life, be willing to know who you are, including the ugly parts, including all of it, and let it come up as much as possible without judgment on it, or you stuff it back down. Do you have an anger problem? It's a good thing to know. Are you, I don't know, prone to being late to everything? What are your habits that you don't like? Okay? You know? Are you judgmental? Are you up in judgment a lot about other people? That's a good thing to know. And before you get busy changing everything, know what it is. Know your strengths. You know how in job interviews anymore, they'll ask you to say, well, what are your strengths? Well, I'm a great people person and I blah, blah, blah. Okay, what are your weaknesses? Well, I can't admit I have any. Because I'm here for a job, you know. And you sit there and you think, oh God, please don't spot my weaknesses. But the weaknesses that we don't want the world to spot, we wear like neon signs, don't we, down the street, okay? And there's a whole story I could go into here that I'll do some other time about a workshop I took that was really cool, and it rearranged how we look at our weaknesses within. But for now, the point is, be willing to know yourself in order to accept yourself. Yes, you can change. Absolutely, you can change. But you can't change consciously what you aren't aware of. Right? Throughout your life, you've probably had well-meaning people point out to you, you don't do that very well, do you? Whatever this is, you know? And immediately you're kind of embarrassed and stuff. And so what do? You either give up doing it or you go practice it some more to get good at it. At other times, you've had people say, you're really good at this. And you're like, I am? I had no idea. I just sort of picked it up. And they, yeah, you should pursue that. You're really good at it. And so we get moved around a little bit by other people's opinions. But deep down inside, what matters and where we commit our time is to the stuff that we feel we know. I know who I am. And that's also the key to confidence. Is to just know who you, it's not about trying to bamboozle anybody else, it's about just knowing who you are. Just knowing who you are. And showing up as that. Willing to grow, willing to learn. So, the assignment, I suppose, is in two parts. The first is ongoing and everlasting, and well, the second is too, really, because we're not going to give it up when the summer's over. Part A is to know who you are, be willing to know who you are. And part B, and this is the tough one, is to know that the people in this life that you fear, that you despise, the politicians on either side of the aisle, the people on either side of the questions, the people who've staked out positions on exactly the opposite extreme to where you feel yourself to be about what needs to happen in this world for things to get better. Those people who, if only they would fall off the planet, would open a highway to good. Treat to know that they know who they are. Treat to know that they know who they are. Not that they change and they vote the way you think they should, or they say the things, or stop doing this, or any of that. Because you have no control over that. Okay? Because if you did have control over that, they'd have control over you. And that's the mess that we find ourselves in right now, is everybody's trying to get a grip on everybody else like a wrestling hold, and you can't do that. I mean psychically. Even intellectually. It doesn't work. It's just combative and continual. But treat to know that these people, whoever it is that you are really afraid of, know who they are. Because if it's true that there's one life and that life is divine, then those people have a right to know that, have as great a right to know that as we do. And if those people know that, they are going to not necessarily change one opinion that they have, but they'll come at it from a place of connectedness, conscious, deliberate connectedness with their higher power. Not simply some religious script or meme or whatever, but from a daily connection, hourly, by the minute connection with their own spiritual source. This is all I know to do. But I believe that it works, because I believe that the only thing that's wrong with this life is that we don't realize how magnificent it is. Okay? We judge it, we compare it, we tell each other stories about it. You know what we do. But this is the life divine. Read Sri Aurobindo for more on that. This is the life divine right here. Human nature, I'm writing about this right now, but human nature and divine nature have been separated for far too long. Human nature's small, groveling, greedy, miserable. Divine nature's beautiful, angelic, music, this. No, one nature. Why are we down here? Why did we incorporate into form? To express the divine nature. So this is what I know to do. So I'm going to conclude with that. There is a PDF of the Gestefeld book in our weekly emails, and it's free. You can download it, and because it's a PDF, you can word search it. And I realize the series of talks is over, but the learning goes on. So I encourage you to look in our weekly emails, and if it's not on our Facebook page, we'll make sure that it's up there too, or maybe it's you got it in the thing. Okay, very cool. So again, thank you for an amazing weekend at Creative Life, and we needed it, and I told Reverend Lisa some months ago, as we were beginning to prepare for this, I said, in this spiritual community, we have had funeral after funeral after funeral, and we're getting ready to have another one, as you heard, on the 19th, a memorial, and to have an opportunity to get together for just sheer joy, man, it was oxygen. It was oxygen to us that night. So more of that to come, because, among other things, I happen to know another certain minister somewhere about there. He's getting vetted right now for ordination the way she was. And no sooner does that happen than we'll have another love fest like we did. So let's know together now, there is one life, one power, one presence, just one. When it looks like there are two and one's good and one's evil, it's a trick of the light. It's a way that we're seeing. It's an old story of opposition, and it's easy, too easy, to push away pain. And here it comes back, redoubled. There is one life, and when that life forgets who it is in us, it's not a pleasant result. But I affirm and know each of us has the capacity to recognize the divine nature within ourselves and act from that. And each of us has the capacity to recognize it in the other. And that when Christ said, love your enemies, he didn't mean just be a doormat, just roll over for them. He meant love them back into knowing who they are. And then they are not so much defeated as disarmed. Deep down inside, every one of us wants to be happy, to be respected, to have a purpose, meaning, to be in love with life. For that to happen, old false beliefs must be cleared away about our separation from our source. That is easily done. They lift like a morning fog. What sometimes is not so easy, but that we are called to do anyway, is to recognize this in fearsome humans, to recognize that one life seeking to be free. For this knowing, and its manifestation in form. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is.
And did I not tell you Jesse had an awesome talk for us? Did he not disappoint? Thank you, Jesse. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. I know I, for one, needed to hear that. I needed to feel that and experience that. And as our ushers make their way to the back, I want to invite all of you to show your love and support through your donation right now. Thank you so much for being here and a part of this. Thank you for giving to this community. With your monetary gifts, we are able to be here and continue this work. And so we're very grateful for everything you do give, and we're grateful for your presence, and we're grateful for your love. And I invite you now to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. Okay, now more music.
So, droves. There are two definitions. Herd or flock of animals being driven in a body, or a large number of people or things doing or undergoing the same thing. So, yes. And now I'm going to put this away. It's the word of the day, droves. Just because I'm going to go ahead and mention, there's a class starting on Tuesday that I got talked into. And here's the truth. We scrolled through the list on the Centers for Spiritual Living page looking for a class. Just that sounded good, light, and would get somebody through until we start practitioner training. And we were like, oh, this sounds good. This is a good summer class. And then it's not available. So we emailed the director of education and said, hey. And he said, well, it's not available anymore. And I said, but it's still online. And he said, okay, fine. You can teach it one more time. So, and then when we went and looked again, it's gone. So it's not online anymore. I got a one-time exception because I am an exception, right? I'm an exception to every rule, or almost all of them. This is why I advocate knowing the rules. It's like always know the rules, because when you know the rules, then you know which rules you need to follow, because there are rules we need to follow. You know which rules you can bend, and you know which rules you can either break or just outright ignore. Because trust me, they exist. I am a woman. I know that there are rules, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this because I'm a girl? Watch me. And Friday night was a little bit about that. Because I got told all my life, you're a girl, you can't be a minister. Ta-da. Here I am. But now my responsibility is to close this sacred time together and send you out into the world. And what I am going to remind you is, this is sacred time. This is a safe place. But just because you walk through those doors doesn't mean it's any less sacred. All of life is sacred. This is the divine life. We are living the divine life. So as you go through the process of knowing who you are, let me remind you of one point of who you are. You are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased and well represented. So, know with me that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And that love flows through each and every one of us. And when we connect consciously with that love, great things happen. So I am knowing, as you do your summer assignment, that you are filled with love. That love flows in and fills those broken places that we find within ourselves. That love heals those places where we have been bruised. And that as we make the choice to change, because we remember that it is a choice, we become an even greater conduit for that love in this world. Because we literally are God in action. And so I know that we are God in action. We are love in action. We are great things in process. And I am grateful to know that. And I am grateful for a place that teaches that. I am grateful for a teaching that teaches that. I am grateful for the ministers and the practitioners and the musicians and the technology that allows us to share this love. And I release my word into law, knowing it is done, even as I speak these words. And so it is.
Say it with me now. Something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I
I
am.
choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use
I
it.
love it.
And I love
So it
it.
is.
And so it is.
All right.